Hello everybody, my name is Eric D. Johnson. I was on the BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county sheriff in the state of Tennessee. The day and date is early Sunday morning, December the 15th, 2019. The time 2:17 a.m. First, I thank all my family support for your continued courage support and continue to keep myself employed right here in this Memphis tri-state area. Continue to further my education in Monroe College online and continue to pursue my social degree, study being administrative concentration mark. It is great time to go break and go to school, but in the very near future, I will be going back to Monroe College online to continue to pursue my social degree, study being administrative concentration mark. Back in 2009, 2010, I was a student at Remedy College, right in the Memphis tri-state area. I was enrolled in a medical building and coding program. I graduated in 2010 and received a diploma, but I didn't get the certification so I could be employed in the healthcare field. And so this year, got myself enrolled at Health Tech Institute of Memphis, and the campus is right here in this Memphis tri-state area, right over there on Vans Avenue. And and as I was enrolled in the medical assistant program, a 9-month program, and I did graduate. I enrolled, like I said, in January of 2019, and I graduated in October 2019 with a diploma and the certification. I took the certification exam and passed the certification test, so I'm certified as a medical assistant. And so it just from this Health Tech Institute, and so I'm working on getting 3 other certifications for biomed technician, EKG technician, and health record specialist. And so I'm working on that, but in the meanwhile, I'm still working in things this next. But what I'm doing right now is going to some other things we need to get into. Now, as you know, this is a world map. Now this is a map of the languages of Africa. Now this is another map of the languages of Africa. Now this is another map of the languages of Africa. Now this is a map of the Afro-Asiatic language family. The Afro-Asiatic language family. This is a map of the This is another map of the Afro-Asiatic language family. And this is a map of the Nilo-Saharan language family. And this is also a map of the Nilo-Saharan language family. And this is a map of the Niger-Congo language family. This is also a map of the Niger-Congo language family. Now this is a map of the Albanian language family. Now this is a map of the Baltic language family. And this is the map of the Greek language family. And this is a map of the Slavic language family. And this is a map of the Altaic language family. Now this is a map of the Euro-Altaic language family. Now this is a map of the Romanian language family. And what they call in the Romanian language, as you know, it's a Latin Romanian language is a Romance, considered Romance language, and Wallachia and Romania. So let me get out. See, in the history of Chicago, nowhere in the history of Chicago do you see a blood gang or a Crip gang or talking about some bloodstone and limestone. Nowhere in the history of Chicago. Nowhere in the history of Chicago. See, all this stuff. True. That blood gang, that Crip gang, and that bloodstone, limestone junk. It's that East Coast bitch. That East Coast bitch. Now, as you can see, it just showed it to you. Now, I know we've seen a lot of black or African Americans in Chicago, Illinois. And based on the history of Chicago, a lot of African American black left the South. Tennessee, Kentucky, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, Texas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, and so on and so forth. Then, Southwest, Colorado, and Arizona, and New Mexico, Utah, and so on and so forth. And went up north. Went to Chicago, Illinois, and other parts of Illinois. Went to Detroit, Michigan, to the state of Michigan, Lansing, and went to Indiana, Indianapolis, Indiana, Gary, Indiana, so on and so forth. Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin. They went up north. And they encountered, and this was after World War I and World War II, you understand? Especially after World War II, it was a mass migration after World War II, up from the south to the north. And he ended up in Chicago. And that's the history of Chicago, Illinois, as well as the other northern states. And so, and you don't see no blood gang, no Crip gang, no Bloodstone gang, no Limestone gang, none of that. You don't see none of that East Coast bitch. And see, when I say the East Coast bitch, this is what we talking about. See, it's not just so much about being on the East Coast, but it's something that you're doing that had to be exposed. It's this so-called devil worship, witchcraft, and all this damn mess. I'm gonna kill you. Simple as that. Because you're horseplay. There's no such thing as worshiping the devil. Never have been, never will be. And these people in these old world secret societies from Africa and from Asia and from Europe, see, you be in these secret societies and you be using so-called devil worship and witchcraft, the occult, and all these so-called cults and all this, and secret cults and all this. I'm a kid. That's all it is to it. First thing, no ifs, ands, or buts about. I'm a kid. That's all it is to it. Get straight to the point. I'm a kid. Because you ain't got no business living. See, you be horseplay. See, when you read this right here, you be horseplay. You be using and misusing the Bible. I'm a kid. Straight to the point. I'm a kid. From this point on, see, that's the reason why I do the things I do. See, when I do the things I do, I have a specific reason to do it, because I'm a kid. See, you've been walking around horse playing from this point on. That's really, like I said, get them AK-47, them automatic rifle up to Chicago. I'm a kid. Ain't no such thing, no blood gang, no Crip gang. Ain't no such thing, no Bloodstone, no line. I'm a kid. No. I'm trying to hide. I got a bloodhound. Get them bloodhounds up to Chicago, and I'ma find you. See, that bloodhound, he don't make them kind of mistakes, especially in this small area, in this small little confined area. He pick your scent up. And when he find you, I'm a kid. I'm gonna kill you. Cause I know you horse playing. See, I know you horse playing. You ain't saying nothing that I need to hear or anybody else need to hear about no damn devil. I'm gonna kill you. Ain't no such thing, ain't no devil worship. Ain't no such thing, no witchcraft, no voodoo, no Shintoria, whatever you try to call it. The cult, some cult group, I'm gonna kill you. From this point on, no ifs, ands, and buts about it. You ain't saying nothing that I need to hear or anybody else. I'm gonna kill you. Cause you evil. You evil. You ain't got no business living. You wanna be with the devil. You wanna go to hell. Gonna send you on with him. Cause you ain't got no business living. This right here, is not to be used and misused. It's not to be used and misused. This right, I'm gonna keep. And like I said, that so-called blood gang, that crip gang, that bloodstone lifestyle, out there in Los Angeles, retaliate. That's really what I told you, retaliate. Cause that East Coast bitch doing background checks. From this day forward, doing background checks. Doing background checks. I'm gonna find out who your mama is, who your daddy is, who your grandmama is, who your granddaddy is, and I'm gonna kill you. I know you're an East Coast bitch. See, I know I'm gonna find you. The bloodhound gonna find you. That background check, I'm gonna find you. And when I find you, there's gonna be severe consequences and repercussions. Severe consequences and repercussions. From this day forward, from this point on, gonna kill you. Gonna kill you. Now let me for matter of fact, before I go to the Bible, let me do this. I said we went over the history. We continue to go over the history of Chicago. You know there's a lot of like I said, when we're showing the video, African American blacks, black African American, but it also be a lot of Hispanic, Latino, so-called gangs and groups in Chicago, Illinois, and the surrounding areas in Illinois and surrounding states as well. And all the white European gang groups and so on and so forth. But I don't have time just to sit here with no video, with showing YouTube videos, because it's the same thing. They all now. A lot of the majority is the folk alliance and the My People alliance and all that, And like I said, there's no such thing worship no devil, and no devil worshiping and voodoo and witchcraft and all that other junk that are the occult and occult groups and all that. From this point on, gonna kill you. Because you disrespect, you violate. There's no such thing. No such thing. No such thing. It's disrespect. And you violate. No such thing. Worship the devil. Never has been. It never will be. Never has been. We're gonna go. Now, when it comes to the history of Chicago, there was a website that I used to go to all the time, ChicagoGang.org. Apparently, it's not, operating right now. But another website that you can go to for the history of Chicago, what is it? ChicagoGangHistory.com, and it's very reliable, pretty much reliable. And we're gonna go there today. We went there last week. We're gonna go there today, and we're gonna go to the Gangster Disciples. Now, like I said, you have a lot of Hispanic, Latino gangs, white gangs, Chicago, Illinois, it's almost, in the northern parts of America. And we're gonna go to the Gangster Disciples. And founded in 1964, near Inglewood, colors black and blue, and primary ethnicity African American black. Symbols, the winged heart, the devil's horns, and the devil tail, and still Gangster Disciples today, and including the IGD, Insane Gangster Disciples. Now, the Gangster Disciples, in order to tell the story of the largest mob in Chicago history, but entwine both the history of the gangsters and the history of the disciples to bring about a correct understanding. The Gangster Disciples say to be at least 40,000 strong in numbers and continue to grow with members as young as preteen and members as old as. In this sense, the Gangster Disciples has a hell of a legacy of expansion, power, and dominance. The Gangster Disciples have grown beyond just being a gang and are about growth and development. Growth and development is something positive that turns Gangster Disciples members to productive members of society, helps men of all ages better themselves and become successful. They say not all Gangster Disciples get involved in criminal activity. Many retire and lead a criminal life and become productive members of growth and development. Now, the history of the Gangster Disciple Nation has roots that come from civil rights issues and dealing with problems that plagued their community. It became time to fight back from the rough parts of Hyde Park to the impoverished and blighted community of Inglewood. Gangsters and disciples were born and would evolve to show the world true power in numbers and organization. The same we'll start a story back in the year 1958 to the impoverished northern half of the Hyde Park neighborhood. The impoverished southern Kenwood area in Inglewood and Hyde Park and Kenwood wealthier white greasy youth were bullying several black youth. They said, give some water. Excuse me. Said Hyde Park had always enforced restrictive racial covenants in the earlier time, put in the late 40s. It was deemed unconstitutional, therefore black families began to move into the older northern section of the Hyde Park neighborhood. By the later 50s, blacks were moving into this area in southern Kenwood at a higher rate as this area became more affordable. In Inglewood, black families began moving in at a very high rate in this neighborhood, causing many Italian families and Italian greasers resentment, and soon bullying ensued. There were also white and black gangs from outside of Inglewood, Hyde Park, and Kenwood that invaded and bullied these youths. Some of the bullied youths from Kenwood, Hyde Park, and Inglewood got together as friends and decided to create a club that will fight against all these enemies they had. Let's say, pay attention now. These boys were only 11 and 13 years old in age, and they all sat down to figure out the name of this new organization. They decided to flip through the Holy Bible to get ideas, and that's when it dawned on them to use the name Disciple. in their title. The board then added on the prefix devils to get a name and intimidating edge to it. After that was decided, the disciple was simultaneously at 49th in Dorchester and Kenwood, 53rd and Kimbar in Hyde Park, and scattered throughout Inglewood between 56th Street down to 67th Street. Now, some founding members were Richard Champ Strong, David Barksdale, Mingo Shred, Prince Old Time, Kilroy, Leonard Longstreet, Nightwalker, and various others. The disciple had no central leader in their earliest days, and they kept their business out of the press. The disciples established headquarters at the Hyde Park intersection of 53rd and Kimbar, which became their very first stronghold. The disciples created the symbols of the Star, David, Pitchfork, and Devil's Tail with devil horns when they formed in 1958. The first arch enemy of the disciple was the Rebels, which was a white gang of greasers in Inglewood, West Inglewood, and Gage Park. There were over 2,000 rebels, and they were very racist towards blacks. Disciples also fought with other black gangs in Inglewood, like the Egyptian Cobras. They moved to the neighborhood from the west side of Chicago. In 1958, disciples also fought with the Blackstone Raiders. They had settled along Garfield Boulevard. The Raiders would eventually become the Blackstone Rangers, then eventually Black Peastone. In the year 1959, disciples made their first expansion move. They settled in the western part of the Woodlawn community, west of Woodlawn Avenue, as they took over about 2/3 of the Woodlawn neighborhood. The other 1/3 was all Blackstone Ranger territory, who became arch rivals along with more Egyptian Cobras. They had settled there as well. As the year 1958 to 1961 went by, the disciple became especially powerful in northern Inglewood as white flight ran its course and more black families moved in, created excellent recruiting opportunity. By 1961, the Devil's Disciples were the most powerful gang in Inglewood, and the Italian Greaser gang were fighting that losing war against the disciple. In the year 1961, 14-year-old David Barksdale took over leadership of the Devil's Disciples, and he directly oversaw the Inglewood branch of the disciple. Barksdale appointed Mingo as president of the disciple in Hyde Park and Kenwood. They became known as East Side Disciples. Barksdale set to work absorbing several other small gangs on the south side, turning them into disciple gangs. These gangs will still retain their original name, but all groups will all have the last name of disciple. All other branches of disciple outside of Inglewood had their own president. The Hyde Park Kenwood chapter was at its peak around when Barksdale took over, as they had members from 43rd down to 53rd between the two neighborhoods. Was starting in 1960. The University of Chicago backed a program to renovate southern Kenwood and northern Hyde Park by clearing out slum buildings and renovating some of the older and salvageable homes. This action would increase the value of these neighborhoods and push impoverished black families out, causing most of these families to move to Inglewood. As the families began moving in the early 60s, the disciple grew stronger in Inglewood, and gradually a new headquarters was set up at 63rd and Normal in the year 1963, because many homes were raised at 53rd and Kimbar in Hyde Park, and the Kimbar shopping plaza was built over half of the disciple headquarters. In the same year that David Barksdale took over power of the disciple, Richard Strong and his family moved into the Cabrini Green public housing project that was mostly ran by very small gang and Egyptian Cobra. Strong developed quite a following in no time and recruited several black youth into the Devil's Disciples. This is a story of how black disciples and gangster disciples first landed in Cabrini Green. Now that we began this story with the creation of the disciple, now let's look into the formation of the gangsters. This took place in Inglewood in the year 1964, more specifically in 68 in Green. A group of 30 young black youths got together at this intersection as they hung out in Larry Hoover's home and watched outside the window as gangsters and pimps hung out in the parking lot of the Guys and Gals nightclub that used to exist at that intersection. These boys wanted to be just like these pimps and gangsters, and they were living on the border of Ranger and Disciple territory. Larry Hoover was inspired to be a leader of gangsters and began dressing himself very well to fit the role. Eventually, these boys created little kids, little boys, and began dressing themselves very well. Eventually, these boys created their own club called the Supreme Gangsters, which was Larry Hoover's idea for the club name. Larry Hoover himself was not the first official leader, but more of a behind-the-scenes type leader. Hoover teamed up with street hustler Andrew D.D. Howard and King Ike Taylor and made King Ike his right-hand man. The Supreme Gangsters wore the color black, and their symbols were a heart with wings and a round crown with a sword going through it. The Supreme Gangsters saluted each other with their clenched fists as their hand sign. Upon inception, the Supreme Gangsters were in immediate war with Blackstone Rangers and Egyptian Cobra, but had no hard feelings against disciples. Supreme Gangsters were the newer organization in Inglewood, and this made them the target of Blackstone Rangers, the one to flush them out right away. But the gangsters fought the Rangers viciously. The Supreme Gangsters were hustlers and were about getting money early in their history, before disciples and Rangers were as much about it. In the year 1965, the leader of the Supreme Gangsters was no longer in charge, and Larry Hoover stepped up to be the official leader of the Supreme Gangsters instead of being a behind-the-scenes leader. After Larry Hoover took over, the Supreme Gangsters began to grow in Inglewood and became a major force to be reckoned with as Rangers struggled and battles with them. The Devil's Disciples were the largest gang on the South Side by 1965 and before, even after the Blackstone Rangers started. The Rangers were not as large. The Rangers only appeared larger because they were more outspoken to media outlets. The Supreme Gangsters were up and coming and even began recruiting older members that were even above high school age. Larry Hoover was becoming increasingly recognized, respected, and feared by many. He was only 13 years old when he started the Supreme Gangsters, and by the age of 14, he was in charge of older guys. On the date of January 6, 1966, the disciples perceived the Rangers as a threat due to their aggressive recruitment measures. In order to counteract this threat, David Boston had the idea to create a unity among several gangs on the South Side that mutually hated the Rangers. This was to be a coalition that would absorb these gangs under one disciple nation. This new coalition would become known as the Black Disciple Nation. The coalition expanded disciple boundaries beyond the Inglewood, High Park, and Kenwood area, and put them in further South Side neighborhoods like Greater Grand Crossing, Woodlawn, Washington Park, as they absorbed up several small black gangs in all these communities, causing the disciple number to grow into the thousands. Every gang that absorbed into the Black Disciple Nation adopted the last name of disciple, added on to their name. This spreading of this nation did not gain much notoriety due to the disciples keeping the activity low-key. Therefore, you don't read much about it in the history book. What you will read about is how the rival Black Keystone Nation spread all over the place after that nation was created in May of 1966 to counteract the Black Disciple Nation. Again, it was because Stones were more outspoken to media outlets. Now that there were the powerful Black Disciple and Black Keystone alliances at war with each other, the much smaller Supreme Gangsters, Larry Hoover now felt the need to create his own countermeasure against the Black Keystone. He adopted the same belief as the Disciple in keeping out of media outlets and having a code of silence. Here's why the new Gangster Nation Alliance flew under the radar when it started in 1966 and through the rest of 1960s. The gangsters absorbed several black gangs that all hated Stones and didn't want to be disciples from as far south as 71st Street. All organizations that joined the Gangster Nation adopted the last name of Gangster to show alliance. One thing people tend to get twisted is that the Supreme Gangsters were known as the High Supreme Gangsters. In reality, the High Supreme Gangsters were just a branch of Supreme Gangsters from 71st Street. Another branch on 71st was the Imperial Gangsters. Once again, another name that gets confused as the Supreme Gangster official title. In 1966, the Black Disciple Nation became heavily active in the community, opening fundraisers, legitimate business, and forcing school pilots to keep kids in school. There are many sources on the internet that can go into greater detail about the legit things the Black Disciple Nation and the Black Gangster Disciple Nation did back in the 1960s. That is very easy to find. Therefore, I do not need to go into extended detail about it, but there was some positive that came out of all this. Maybe some of the illegality, but a great deal of it went into helping the community. David Barden used his power for some good, as can be seen. The Disciple also tied the civil rights groups that fought against civil rights injustice. In that summer of 1966, the Disciples even tried a peace treaty with the Rangers. This didn't last, but at least there was a large attempt. In the month of September, in the year 1967, Ike Taylor moved to the intersection of Gladys and Keeler in the K-Town section of Chicago's West Side in the West Garfield Park neighborhood. When he arrived, he began spreading the word of the Gangster Nation to the young West Side youth that were mainly familiar with vice lords and Egyptian codes. King Ike recruited many youths in this area and established the very first Supreme Gangster branch in history. Ike appointed Robert Red Lawson to be his sergeant at arms, and this was the birth of the Gangster Disciples on the west side of Chicago, and it all started in 1967. The West Side Supreme Gangster gained quick popularity, especially after they absorbed the Black Pimps and the Jive 5 gangs. By the 1970s, the Black Pimps were especially large in the West Garfield Park area, so this became a colossal move for the gangsters, turning them out. This gave the gangsters a major momentum boost. They soon colonized the Henry Horn projects located in the near West Side neighborhood, putting the gangsters on the map in two West Side neighborhoods. There really weren't any Disciples or Stones on the West Side, so this was primary opportunity. The only major rival to deal with was the vice lords. In the early 1970s, Ike Taylor was convicted of attempted murder and other charges after the shooting of Albert Harris. In the court case of People v. Taylor on December 24, 1974, Albert Harris was walking home from a friend's house that was down the street from where he lived. Harris stopped walking when he heard the clicking sound of a gun. He turned and claimed he saw Ike Taylor standing there holding a pistol. Harris said that Ike said, "It ain't nothing but a gangster thing." Harris then saw another man holding a shotgun in a doorway. Then Henry Herron joined Taylor holding a pistol, and Ronald Lawson on the other side of Taylor holding a shotgun. Harris then claimed that Taylor said, "You're busted," then shot Harris in the throat. The man with the shotgun in the doorway fired next and shot Harris in his right side. A fifth shooter suddenly showed up and shot Harris again with a 12-gauge shotgun in the face. Harris then turned to see Taylor, Herron, and Lawson standing side by side with flashing sparks coming from their gun. Harris dropped to the ground to crawl away, but then a sixth shooter appeared with a 12-gauge and shot Harris yet again. Harris managed to flee under a car as the men continued to open fire on the car, as Harris could hear all the pellets striking the vehicle that terrified him so much they cried out for his mother to save him. His mother heard the frenzy of gunfire and her son cried out, then rushed to the scene as the men fled. Harris was blinded, was left with a difficulty speaking, lost 6 teeth, and was left with scars all over, but survived the attack. According to court documents, Lawson was acquitted of the crime, and the other 3 men not named were never found. Ike Taylor and Henry Herron were convicted, and both men protested their innocence. Ike Taylor was able to get the aggravated battery charge removed, but the attempted murder charge stuck. In later years, Ike Taylor would become a positive leader and positive advocate for the growth and development concept of the Gangster Disciple. In the year 1967, the Woodlawn organization was awarded over $927,000 to be handed out to the Blackstone Rangers and the Black Disciples to operate job training center for neighborhood youth in Woodlawn. All disciples and rangers were paid a salary to be instructors of this program despite the lack of training. The disciples received about $360,000 in money for the program. In these programs, there were both disciple and ranger instructors and students in these classrooms. Sometimes gang fights and shootings happened in the class. In the year 1968, war began between the Black Disciples and Gangster Nation. Larry Hoover became the target for assassination attempts. He was shot on 2 occasions. Then on September 4, 1968, a third attempt was made on him. On this day, Inglewood was on high alert as disciples, Gangster and Stone were packing guns and ready to shoot each other. At Parker High School, members of the Supreme Gangster and disciples were especially ready to get into drama against each other. Barron disciple member James Highsmith and disciple co-founder Leonard Longstreet entered Parker High School, even though they weren't students. The two spotted Larry, who was standing outside of the principal's office, and Highsmith walked past him with a smile. Longstreet shouted, "Burn him!" Highsmith pulled out a .32 pistol and shot Larry Hoover and 2 others nearby. No one was killed, but Highsmith was convicted of the shooting, sentenced to 1 to 5 years. During that fall season of 1960, the guns were blazing all over the South Side. As disciples, gangsters, and Stones were at each other's throats, their bodies were dropping. This led to a temporary truce between the 3 organizations that didn't last long, but it was an attempt to curtail the several acts of violence on the South Side. In 1968, not only did the gangsters open up on the west side of the city, they extended themselves further south, outside of Inglewood. The high-powered stronghold was closed down for the disciples, as now that area became upper-class income family, and all East Side disciples and Falcon disciples moved to Inglewood. Gangsters were now just primarily in Inglewood and some West Side Turk until gangsters began colonizing south of 68th Street all the way down to 95th Street in the Roseland neighborhood. The Roseland chapter of gangsters became known as the Outlaw Gangsters, and U.S. was the founder of this branch. This is what started the Wild 100 Gangster disciples that we know today. In January of 1969, Larry Hoover was highly recognized by David Boston and Jeff Ford because the gangsters had risen to become the 3rd largest outfit on the south side of the city. Both Jeff and David wanted to absorb the gangsters into their nation, but Larry Hoover looked to Jeff Ford and the Stones first. Now this is where history gets tricky and has caused many disputes on the streets for many years on if Larry Hoover and the gangsters became Stone. Some would tell you he was a Stone and others would say no way. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. However, I will say this right now before we go into Larry Hoover was never a Stone. Now I'll explain it all right now. In January of 1969, Larry Hoover went to Jeff Ford for a peaceful meeting to discuss an alliance. The two leaders agreed on just having an alliance that had no official title. It was simply a truce between gangsters and Stones and not a merge in any which way. This alliance was not the same as the Black Disciple type alliance or Gangster Nation type alliance or like the Black Peace Stone type alliance. This was an alliance that kept gangsters and Stones separate but would still be governed by Jeff Ford and Larry Hoover, supposedly as equal. Larry came up with the idea for him to rule this alliance alongside Jeff, but Jeff ended up declining this in the long run because in Jeff's mind nobody is his equal. The peace between them lasted close to a half year, but ended up going sour as Larry was seeing more and more how Jeff would not let him rule alongside him as an equal. Jeff also came up with the idea for a complete merger of gangster and Stone concept that he wanted to call the Gangster Stones. But Larry Hoover rejected the idea, especially since Jeff wouldn't let him rule as equal. This and a shooting in May of 1969 when the Stones shot at Supreme Gangster near Larry Hoover's home, were events that brought an end to this alliance. Here are the details of that shooting that pushed things over the edge between Stones and gangsters. On May 7, 1969, two Supreme gangsters, Gregory Sanders and Ronald Vanderbilt, were shot at by Black Pete Stones at the corner of 69 and Halsted in the Inglewood neighborhood at the intersection of 69, Grand address 817 West 69th Street. Old Shrimp Shop no longer there. Between 1:30 a.m. to 2 o'clock a.m., Ronald Vanderbilt came across Lonnie King and Charlie Stone Smith, who were two members of the Double Six King, which was a Black Pete Stone gang. Vanderbilt knew Lonnie King, so he began walking and talking with him as they walked toward 69th and Halsted. Lonnie started telling Ronald that he did not belong around there and to stop coming around that neighborhood because Ronald was a Supreme gangster. Lonnie had no idea about the gangster and the Black Pete Stone line, and somehow Ronnie could not convince him of it. Charlie Stone Smith then came around the corner and joined Lonnie and telling Ronald he did not belong around there and to keep his gangsters out. Charlie was ruthless about it and only said it one time, then yanked out his revolver and shot at Ronald 2 times, striking him once in the groin area and his inner left thigh. After Ronald was shot, he ran to the other side of the street. Felix Murray and Gregory Sam were nearby, both Supreme gangsters too, and fled the scene too. Ronald did not get far because of his wound and fell between two cars. Felix Murray then came to help Ronald, and as the two men took off, King and Smith kept shooting at them and grazed Murray. The two men ran 2 blocks away to the corner of 6th Avenue and Green. That is where they met up with Charles Hoover at the family home of Larry Hoover. The two were then taken to the hospital and were treated for their wounds. The hospital called the police about the fact they were shot, but both men declined pressing any charge or naming their assailants according to court documents. On May 9th, at about 4 p.m., Charles Hoover was at the corner of 68th and Halsted and saw the shooters, Lonnie King and Charlie Smith. King and Smith told Hoover they were sorry and that they did not know who and the Supreme Gang were allied. On May 11th, Vanderbilt, King Murray, Smith, Charles Hoover, and some others attended a reconciliation meeting at the Black Pete Stone headquarters where the shooting was declared an accident due to the fact that the shooter did not know Supreme Gang were now allied. According to court doc, Black Pete Stone Ranger chiefs were the judges in this meeting. In June 1969, Ronald Vanderbilt was picked up by Chicago police for jumping bail, marijuana possession, and 2 charges of aggravated battery, according to court doc. Vanderbilt made a deal with Chicago Police Department, decided to testify all about the shooting and now press charges in exchange for leniency for his crime. He also came to this decision because by then the Supreme Gangs had now went back to war with the Stones and were now merged with the Disciples. This opened up a court case of People versus Smith on October 9, 1963, which was a joint indictment of Stephen Smith for an aggravated battery charge, was also being indicted on murder charges. From June 2nd, 1969, he was 20 years old at the time and the leader of the Double Six Kings. In June of 1969, Larry Hoover had completely had enough of the Stones and conference with rival David Barksdale. Instead, David Barksdale wanted the same type of plan as Jeff Fort wanted, which was to absorb gangsters and disciples together as black gangster disciples. However, David's plan would offer Larry to rule alongside David as Barksdale, as both men would become kings. Although this was a merger of concept, it was not a combination to one gang. It was still an alliance, but a closer conceptual alliance than what Stones had with the gangsters. Larry accepted this offer because him and David would have equal say in how the alliance operated. This was a much more attractive idea for Larry Hoover, and he accepted this offer. and this brought about the birth of the Black Gangster Disciple Nation name. Prince Oldtimer was appointed the Prince of the Disciples, while Tennessee the Prince of the Gangsters. Again, this was still just an alliance, but it was a combined concept alliance, unlike the one between the Stones and the Gangsters. All disciple gangs and gangster gang were all black gangster disciples. Many disciples objected to this and only wanted to see this as a loser alliance, just like how the Stones and gangsters had. But the majority ruled, and this was to remain a combined concept alliance with separate ruling. Now, as far as the gangster Stone thing is concerned, there was a group of gangsters that didn't agree with a merging alliance with the disciples because of their great dissatisfaction toward the disciples. This group thought Jeff Fort's original idea to combine gangster and Stone concepts together was a great idea. And when Larry Hoover severed his relationship with Jeff Fort, this group of gangsters was not happy to say the least and became more upset when the Black Gangster Disciple Nation was assembled. This group refused to link up with Disciple, even went renegade against the gangsters and vacated the South Side entirely behalf, with only some members remaining. In Roselawn on 104th Street, these gangsters pledged allegiance to Jeff Fort. As a leader among them emerged called Moose Man. Moose Man became highly respected by Jeff Fort and took these gangsters into the Black P-Stone Nation, making them into the Gangster Stone branch. Moose Man then took these gangsters to the Henry Horner housing project where there was already Supreme Gangsters over there, and opened up the Gangster Stone at the 105th Lake Street building. Larry Hoover and the Supreme Gang had nothing to do with this move, and this was not tied in any way which way to the Gangster Nation. The Gangster Stone just took gangster concepts, especially the concept of making money, and took it to the Henry Horner while putting Jeff Fort Black P-Stone Nation on the map for the first and only time on the west side of Chicago. In June 1969, right after the Black Gangster Disciple Nation was assembled, Vice Lords, Black P-Stones, and Black Gangsters all got together to form a coalition known as the Lords, Stones, and Disciples, or LSD. This was a unity of the gang so they could march on the government and demand equal rights, better jobs, and against the oppression and poverty in their neighborhoods. This coalition effectively slowed down gang violence between these three organizations even after CBL Incorporated went defunct in the fall of 1970. For the rest of 1969, the LSD coalition really set aside a lot of gang war as they marched on City Hall, universities, and everywhere, until finally in January 1970 they achieved some success in bringing about the Chicago Plan, which was an agreement to implement the employment of minorities in Chicago construction industry. The final agreement lists 3,000 jobs or training positions in 4 categories, but the coalition spokesman claimed that the actual final agreement called for 1,000 jobs in each category. It was soon discovered in the early 1970s that the Chicago Plan was failing by producing like it should, and by October 1973, the LSD coalition disbanded. Since 1968, David Barksdale had been working with leaders of the Black P-Stone on several failed peace treaties. By June of 1970, another weak peace treaty was in effect, but this was broken on June 7, 1970, when David Barksdale was shot in his side at a bar at 848 West 69th Street in the Inglewood neighborhood. The shooters were Black P-Stone. Larry Hoover was there with Barksdale when the shooting started and acted quickly after Barksdale was shot by swiftly getting Barksdale into his car. Hoover then raced to St. Bernard's Hospital in Inglewood and was accredited with saving David Barksdale's life after Barksdale suffered an M14 bullet wound in his side that passed into his kidneys, causing terrible damage. In the year 1970, the West Side Supreme Gangsters advanced into the West Humboldt Park area and battled the newly arrived Mad Black Soul in a vicious gang war. I don't know how long the Supreme Gangsters lasted in it, but it is known that the Gangster Disciples never have had established territory in Humboldt Park, so I believe this conquest was either failed or they absorbed into the black gangsters' new breeds by 1981. Before the 1970s, Cabrini Green was run by various different gangs with a good number of Egyptian Cobras and black disciples running some of the buildings or parts of buildings. In the early 1970s, they bid for domination. But these projects began and first caught wind in the news when 2 officers were shot dead by snipers on the rooftops of the project building. There was an existing war between black deuces and Egyptian Cobra that prompted police to investigate. This is how serious this war was becoming. In 1971, Richard Strong, the Cabrini Green disciple founder, started a group called the Blacks, which was a civil rights group that aimed to help the people of Cabrini Green facing injustice. Eventually the Blacks and the Deuces would merge together, then eventually merge into the Black Disciples. The war ran its course, and by 1972 the Disciples and Cobras dominated these buildings. In the early 1970s, investigation into street gangs using government funding for illegal activity came to a close, and they now had evidence to convict high-ranking gang members from the Black Peace Stone. In 1971, top leaders of the Black Peace Stone were officially charged, and by 1972, Jeff Fort was sentenced to 4 years in prison. The investigation didn't stop with the Stones, though. Investigators went after the vice lords and shut down their legit business. Then they aimed their crosshairs at the Black Gangster Disciples. Authorities ended up getting Mingo to testify before the grand jury against his own organization. However, no charge was brought upon the disciples, but government funding was cut off. Stones and vice lords had members testify against their own gangs too, and these proceedings had caused vice lords and Stones to face prison time. But Mingo's testimony failed to convict anyone. Instead, Mingo was severely beaten on the streets by the disciples for snitching on his own kind. The same exact money that convicted the Stones somehow didn't get the disciples convicted, even though both groups were technically mismanaging the funds. It seemed like the government just had it out for the Stone more. Not only that, the disciples didn't seek out this money. It was kind of forced on them as equal payment to them to not favor Stone. Disciples weren't big with talking to the media and stayed out of the spotlight, unlike the Stones, so perhaps this helped their case and kept them less of a target for the government. A harsh conviction did not come down on the disciples in 1973, though when on February 26, 1973, Larry Hoover ordered the death of William Pookie Young, a 19-year-old drug dealer in the neighborhood that stole drugs and money from the Black Gangster Disciples. Larry Hoover then ordered Andrew Howard to kill him, and it all happened at 6th and Union in the Inglewood neighborhood in an alley. Young was shot 6 times in the head. On March 16, both men were arrested and charged with the murder. By November 5, 1973, Hoover and Howard was sentenced to 150 to 200 years in prison in Statesville Correctional Facility in Crest Hill, Illinois. As Larry Hoover was now sitting in prison while David Barstow was the main face for the Black Gangster Assassination in the streets, David also started to become very ill. In 1974, David Barstow began to suffer serious health problems as his kidneys were slowly shutting down. The 1970 assassination attempt by the Black Pete Stone may not have initially killed him, but in the long run it brought an agonizing fate that led to his death. On September 2nd, 1974, the fond memory the fond memory will live on of King David as a positive leader that truly worked to better lives for the disciples. David Barstow was no drug dealer. He was no killer, or at least not on record, but he was no killer. He was barely even a criminal. He was the king of the disciples. But when you look at his old rap sheet, you really couldn't tell. David wasn't full of money and power like Jeff Fort, and he didn't even make money like Larry did. On record, he was a small-town hustler that committed petty crimes, and he had no real felonies on his record. Here is a list of crimes on record recorded on David Barstow from a list I got from the NGCRC website, written by George W. Knox. And it's a lot of David Barstow's arrest record. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to scroll through there. All his arrests. Now, I'm going to continue reading. It says, after Barstow's passing in 1974, he was dearly missed, especially by the gangster gang allied with the Black Gangster Assassination. Some of the disciples were not as mournful as they began doing their own thing and not following Black Gangster Assassination law. These disciples had always held a grudge from 1968 when gangsters and disciples were at war. These disciple groups also violated the rules because they lost respect for Black Gangster Assassination, also acted independent. Sometimes gangster disciples would erupt on each other in certain parts of the city. There was no chief there to make sure the alliance stayed intact on the streets now that David was dead and Larry was locked up. The disciples didn't even have a leader at all anywhere and became wild in many areas. These wilder groups of disciples that were also bitter about 1960, they decided to no longer honor Black Gangster Assassination, which caused some violence between gangsters and disciples. By the year 1976, Larry Hoover wanted to reach a resolution to absolve this disorganization between disciples and gangsters and to carry on the legacy that David Barstow had left. All of the gangster groups agreed with Larry. Larry had earned a lot of respect from the majority of the disciples, and they were on board as well with the resolve to make the Black Gangster Assassination more than just an alliance. It would be a complete merger into one nation, and the idea would bring about organization and complete unity. However, some disciples were dissatisfied with this idea, many of which were the same disciples that fractured away from the Black Gangster Assassination. After David's death, the new Black Gangster Assassination did become official that year, and the majority of disciples became Black Gangster disciples alongside the gangsters. And Larry Hoover, but the rest of the disciples, led by Dirk Ackland, split away entirely and brought back the name Black Disciples. This time it meant one organization and not an alliance, As soon as Dirk Acklin organized the Black Disciples, an immediate civil war began between Black Disciples and Black Gangster Disciples that brought bloodshed on the street. In the prison system, Black Gangster Disciples and Black Disciples were at each other's throat with no resolve. And there was basically chaos everywhere. Although there was a split on the streets, there wasn't as much clarification on the difference between a Black Gangster Disciple and a Black Disciple. But in prison, it was very clear. During all these wars, Larry Hoover always tried to look for ways to end violence between all the gangs. His overall grand vision was for there to be peace among the nations, and if there needed and if there needed the war, he wanted it controlled exactly like how the Italian Mafia controlled their gang war. Larry never liked messy wars and uncontrolled bloodshed, nor did he even agree with prison to rape. In later years, Larry was very much outspoken against prison rape and attempted to forbid this behavior. As I had said, Larry only saw violence as needed when completely necessary and wanted it controlled. Larry showed his absolute power in Statesville prison on April of 1978 when he got together with the members of the Black Gangster Disciples, Black Disciples, Black Souls, Vice Lords, El Rookies, Black P-Stone, Mickey Cobras, and organizing work stoppage, strike against foul food that was being served to inmates, making them sick. During that strike, Larry Hoover also got together with leaders of several rival and allied organizations from all over the city. In this prison, now that they showed unity by assembling this work stoppage, the unity was taken further, or perhaps it was arranged while creating the stoppage. In the first place, regardless of when exactly happened, the creation of the folk and people alliances happened in April of 1978, stemming from this work stoppage protest. This organizing led to another big sit down with members of allied and enemy nations to discuss how to control the gang wars in the prison. He proposed two rival coalitions that all major gangs would follow. They could be controlled by negotiation between the leaders of each of these coalitions, just like how the Italian Mafia organization organized their gang wars between families. For Larry's own organization and his own allies, he assembled the Folk Alliance, which united Black Gangster Disciples, Black Disciples, Ashland Vikings, Ambrose, 2-6, Satan Disciples, Maniac Latin Disciples, Spanish Cobras, Imperial Gangsters, Latin Eagles, Simon City Royals, and Insane Popes, to have complete peace among each other and work together. His rivals agreed to this and assembled their own coalition called the People Alliance. The People Alliance the People Alliance was assembled by the El Rookies, Vice Lords, and Latin Kings, as they allied with Latin Counts, Bishops, Mickey Cobras, Four-Corner Hustlers, Insane Unknowns, Spanish Lords, and Puerto Rican Stones. This became a very effective coalition in the prison system, and it drastically reduced violence between Black Gangster Disciples and Black Disciples. Right after Larry assembled the Folk and People line, he was then out of Statesville Prison Center, Pontiac Prison in Pontiac, Illinois. When Larry got to this prison, he saw how poorly prisoners were treated by prison staff. The prison was overcrowded, and this resulted in squalid conditions. Larry, who organized the Brothers of Struggle movement that involved high-ranking Black Gangster Disciples, Black Disciples, Black Soul, Vice Lord, Black P-Stone, and Mickey Cobra. These 17 inmates raised up a rebellion on July 22nd, 1978 to overthrow the prison and bring mass destruction. In the wake of the intense violence, 3 correctional officers were stabbed to death. When the 17 men were out on trial, they were found not guilty. During his trials that went on until 1981, he was in segregation away from other inmates initially. In the year 1978, Don Smoke and Junior Hope brought the Black Gangster Disciple to the Cabrini Green Project. The story on this began in 1978 when these men met up with Larry Hoover in Statesville. After this, Smoke got out of prison and brought Black Gangster Disciple to Cabrini Green and introduced disciples to Black Gangster Disciple from the start. Smoke and Lil John were bringing a large drug trade to these projects beginning 1978 in Cabrini Green. They were just disciples, as usual, and were kind of cut off from all the drama that unfolded in the past 2 years. While Smoke was in with Larry, Larry asked if Smoke would become Black Gangster Disciple and side with the gangster. Smoke agreed and joined Black Gangster Disciple. Smoke then got in contact with Lil John, who was on the streets of Cabrini, and now got word that Cabrini Green disciples will become Black Gangster Disciple. This would absorb up the Black Deuces and the Blacks. This is the whole story of how the Gangster Disciple took over the majority of Cabrini Green. It all started in 1978. There was a pretty solid peace between Black Gangster Disciple and Black Disciple from late 1978 until late 1979, until a flare-up happened in Statesville but got patched up only to return a year later. In late 1980, another flare-up began again and heightened on January 29, 1981 when an incident happened in Statesville. In Statesville Prison Unit B, Black Disciple gang member George Bailey resided in this unit along with members of the Black Gangster Disciple. Bailey was allowed a privileged duty known as cell house help, which allowed inmates to roam freely in a cell block without cuffs or escort by guards according to court documents. Black Gangster Disciple leader Ernest Smokey Wilson disapproved of Black disciples being cell house helpers and declared that all Black disciples should either resign from this position or flip to become Black Gangster Disciples. Wilson even held a meeting in that unit for Black Gangster Disciples and Black disciples to attend in order to lay out the rules. 3 Black disciples, including Bailey, were in attendance, and 2 of those 3 Black disciples resigned from their position and listened to Wilson according to court doc. But Bailey would not drop the position. The Black disciples did not like this rule that Wilson imposed, and for 2 weeks straight they chanted Black BD Power every night around 8 p.m. According to court doc, Wilson then had a meeting with Dirk Ackman, who, as I stated earlier, was a Black disciple founder and leader, to express Wilson's dissatisfaction of this revolt from the Black disciples, but apparently it got nowhere, so Wilson picked a fist fight with Bailey, which got Wilson thrown in segregation. And on January 29th, he was returned back to his unit and met with fellow Black Gangster disciples to plot the murder of Bailey. The Black Gangster disciples obtained an aluminum bat, which ended up in the hands of Fred Bobo Collins. Later on that day, Collins struck Bailey in the head with the bat repeatedly, which caused Bailey to be hospitalized. And on February 5th, 1981, Bailey died according to court documents. After this incident in Statesville in 1981, a divide was finalized and made official for the streets as Black disciples Mickey Boyd Johnson, Jerome Shorty Freeman were released from prison. Jerome Freeman was appointed the new chief of the entire Black Disciples organization bestowed upon him by Dirk Acklin in 1978. Mickey Bull Johnson went to the streets to ensure all young black gangster disciples not in the network with Larry Hoover understood that they were now black disciples and had nothing to do with the Black Gangster Disciple Nation. The Black Gangster Disciple Nation line was finally tossed away for good, and the split was completely finalized on the street. In the same year, 1981, Black Gangster Disciples were released as well that assured the split was finalized for the Black Gangster Disciple side of things. Basically, there was a big toss-up in 1981 between Black Gangster Disciple Nation gangs decide with either gangsters or disciples, and sections had to turn in their decision to be with the gangsters or the disciples, either follow Larry Hoover or follow Jerome Freeman. Robert Cole Black Doherty's was released from prison in 1981 and was appointed by Larry Hoover to come to the Stateway Garden Project and the Robert Taylor Project and flip many Black Gangster Disciple Nation members into Black Gangster Disciple members as the gangsters took over the area of Pershing Road and 43rd Street and the Robert Taylors and the majority of the Stateway. At the same time, Mickey Bull Johnson flipped the rest of the Black Gangster Disciple Nation into the Black Disciples in the Robert Taylor and Stateway Garden. The Dale Vikings were the dominant gang in both sets of projects until most of them flipped the Black Disciples, while some others flipped the Black Gangster Disciples. The Black Gangster Disciples were now very strong in the public housing business, and there were over 400 members in Cabrini Green alone in 1981. This was also the year the lucrative Gangster Disciple and Black Disciple group drug operation began in Cabrini Green, Robert Taylor, and Stateway Garden. It would become legendary in later years. Also in the year 1981, Larry Hoover began to draw the Black Gangster Disciple into politics as he established bylaws for Black Gangster Disciples not to harm prison guards or any prison staff unless ordered to do so. In 1983, he stepped up his organization as he established Brothers of the Struggle as official at this time only for Black Gangster Disciples. He sent out memos to top leaders geared toward bettering the organization and encouraging members to refine themselves. In 1982, the wars between the Black Gangster Disciple and Black Disciple almost came to an end after Dirk Acklin was released from prison and disapproved of how powerful Jerome Freeman had become. Dirk then created his own group of Black Disciples to go against Freeman, called the Asiatic Apostle, and a civil war began within the Black Disciples. As a result of this war, relations between Black Gangster Disciple and Black Disciple smoothed over as these two Black Disciple factions were focused and removing each other until Dirk Acklin's Black Disciple went back to the rest of the Black Disciples in 1983 or 1984. In the year 1986, the L. Rookers faced indictment that caused some harm to their organization. After this happened, the Black Gangster Disciple experienced a major boost in numbers and now outnumber L. Rookers, Black Peace Stones in the city. This even involved the Black Gangster Disciples even becoming the new dominating force over the drug trade after the Stones ran it for nearly 20 years. This was also the year that Junior Hope was running all the street operations for the Black Gangster Disciples. In March of 1987, Larry Hoover was seen as becoming reformed, especially after his 1981 policy about not harm prison staff. This all granted him a transfer to the Vienna Correctional Center in Vienna, Illinois, which is a minimum security prison. It was in this prison where Larry Hoover now conducted business easier since security was much lower. After Larry Hoover was transferred to a minimum security facility, all hell broke loose in Statesville and in Pontiac prison. As now, Larry was no longer around to smooth things over. At Pontiac, prison members of the Black Gang Society conspired to murder Superintendent Robert Taylor for the purpose of avenging mistreatment against Black Gang Society members by prison staff. These Black Gang disciples wanted revenge for the death of Billy Zodiac Jones and Kirk Williams, who both died while choking on cocaine they were trying to conceal. When Black Gang Society Harry Martin was apprehended and charged for the murder, he claimed Larry Hoover gave him the order to kill this prison staff. Remember, upon investigation, it was proven Larry had no tie to this. However, the damage was done because Martin gave up lots of other information about how the Black Gang Society were ran and how they governed, and this led to other investigations. At the time this was happening, Larry Hoover was actually working on a positive program he created that was aimed at steering the Black Gang Society further away from being a criminal organization. He created Better Growth and Development and declared BGD stood for those words, Better Growth and Development. The concept was to help gangster society better themselves and to help better their community instead of fueling the problems that existed in their neighborhoods. It was also a way for Black gangster society to become legitimately successful and become productive men and women of society. Better Growth and Development was not official. It was not even released to the public at this time. In the year 1988, Michael G. took over leadership of all street operators of the Black Gang Society. In the year 1989, the drug trade became increasingly competitive in the Inglewood neighborhood between Black Gang Society and Black Society, and this resulted in a steering of violent shooting between these gangs that year that left some bad feeling between Black Gang Society and Black disciples in Inglewood. It was also foreshadowing what was to become in later years. For now, this class was squashed later in the year. In the year 1990, Cole Black was running the Black Gang Society, but only for a short time. This was also the year that Better Growth and Development was finally shared for the first time among trusted Black gangster disciple heads. It was not made public or official yet. In the summer of 1991, Black gangster disciple gunned down Mickey Bull. After that happened, the Black disciples got revenge on August 7, 1991 by gunning down multiple members of the Black gangster disciple in Inglewood. After this shooting, a group of Black gangster disciples from 66th Street started calling themselves gangster disciples, dropping the B or Black out of their name. This was the beginning of Black gangster disciples' transition of being just known as gangster disciples. As this violence between Black gangster disciples and Black disciples ensued in 1991, Larry Hoover was trying to demonstrate to many of his members the growth and development ways. The name was slightly changed, leaving out the better part that was part of the original 1987 plan. This was another step toward GD becoming the new ways. However, growth and development had nothing to do with the name change or the violence. It was purely coincidental because the initials of growth and development were GD, and that certain section on 67 was called the cell GD. Between 1991 and 1993, the war between black gang disciples and black disciples was so severe that members of each gang couldn't hardly walk around the neighborhood without getting shot at by each other. It was almost like you couldn't even move a muscle. During this time, more and more Inglewood black gangster disciples began to call themselves gangster disciples, and more were dropping the beat. In 1993, the black disciples and black gangster disciples reached some peace, but it only lasted a year or two. Then war became permanent. This was also the year that Growth and Development became official and was publicly released. This was also the year that Black Gangster Disciples officially became Gangster Disciples. Some members still used Black Gangster Disciples until 1994, including Gator, that went before the White House in January 1994 and spoke about better growth and development. By 1993, the Gangster Disciples were trying a new political move known as 21st Century Vote, which was an attempt to get Gangster Disciple members into politics. To the public, it was meant to help rehab neighborhoods and bring about positive change. But critics and law enforcement saw it was a way to help expand Gangster Disciple legal operation. At that time, in 1993, Larry Hoover was trying to get out of prison and was up for parole. Over 10,000 members of the Gangster Disciple gathered at a large picnic in Kankakee, Illinois, where Larry Hoover gave his speech. He further expanded on growth and development, which was a new term Larry Hoover wanted to use to replace the Gangster Disciple term. As I said before, growth and development concept was to help Gangster Disciples better themselves and to help better their community instead of fueling the problems that exist in the neighborhood. Afterward, there was a flood of letters to Governor Jim Ryan, pleading with him to allow the parole of Larry Hoover. However, Larry Hoover was denied parole. Things only got worse. In 1995, when the Chicago police launched Operation Headache, which took down "39 high-ranking members of the Gangster Disciples, including Larry Hoover and Andrew Howard, who had been on parole since 1992. Larry Hoover was brought up on several drug conspiracy charges that dated all the way back to 1970, which was the time when the Gangster Disciples started to operate a major drug cartel, mostly cocaine and heroin. Hoover and several of his top generals and lieutenants were being arraigned on charges of supplying small-time dealers, extorting money, and running their own drug cartel that was worth millions of dollars. By the end of the trial, 1997, Larry Hoover was transferred to United States Penitentiary Administrator Maximum Facility in Florence, Colorado, which is a super maximum security prison, which effectively cut off over 95% of Hoover's communication with the outside world. Starting in the late 1980s and escalating in the early 1990s, the Gangster Disciples were operating a highly sophisticated crack cocaine operation in the Robert Taylor home, Cabrini Green high-rise, and low-rise Dearborn mid-rises, and the Stateway Garden. The GDs ran the majority of the buildings within these public housing complexes and began a $100 million a year crack cocaine operation. just in Cabrini Green alone. Soldiers in the organization worked around the clock 24 hours a day, serving crack cocaine as they would. As they worked in shifts, the gang society ran public housing, project buildings with their iron fist, and they had armed security that even patted down residents as they came home. Gang society also imposed a curfew on residents after hours so they could control the drug trade more efficiently during the peak hours, which was later at night. Rules were very strict. Especially at Cabrini Green, where gangsters were ordered to meet in the courtyard each night to do this exercise. Just like in the military, there was no tolerance to disobeying any rules and refusing to work your shifts, or members were severely beaten or even killed for refusing to do security. Gangster disciples were heavily armed in the public housing project with automatic weapons as they patrolled the project hallways. The drug sales in the public housing developments gave the gangster disciples a massive boost in the overall growth and development of their organization. The gangster society took advantage of the city and Chicago Housing Authority's lack of interest in the public housing rise. There were young kids living in the projects, poor and struggling in life. The GDs recruited them and turned them into soldiers. They were paid and fed while no one else cared. Drug addicts had already taken over the project since the 1960s. The GD was there to feed their need. All this was neglected by the city. It makes you wonder who really is the bad guy, the city and the police. Neglected these developments, and the GD came into a place no one cared about. Before the demolition of the Cabrini Green and Robert Taylor home housing projects in the 1990-2000, the GDs were pulling in well over $100 million of drug profits on a yearly basis in these buildings. And the gangster society history is more than just drugs and killing. There is also an activist side of this organization that has been rooted deep since the 1964. Many years the gangster societies have preached to young disciples to keep their lives in order and to live as good men and to their family and their community. Many of the older members that once were convicted of murders and other serious crimes have become outspoken about true leadership and developing young black men into productive members of society. This could be anything from just being a working man that takes part in gangster society politics, up to being an active member of the crime family within a gangster society that does not take part in destroying his community and instead works to protect the neighborhood. The boss message is still strong today in the hearts of many, but sadly many younger men have lost that message and don't even know who Larry Wood is. Alright, let's see. So I'll tell you what I'm gonna do on this video. About 15 minutes. It'll be a full 2 hours and 30 minutes, because right now it's like 4:30 a.m. in the morning. And so, but that's the history of Chicago, Illinois. You understand? You're hearing about the vice lords, the almighty vice lord nation, the four corner hustlers. You're hearing about the Black P Stones, the El Rukins. You're hearing about the almighty black disciple nation, you know, the black, and how it all got started from some little kids. They were all little kids. When you look at all these black gangs, no African American gang, they were all children. Edwin Pepperlo Perry, you know, he was a little child. Him and the other ones, him and all the other men, these young men, these little children. They was at the reform school, and they started an organization while they was at the youth center. All these organizations you hear about, they were all children. And like I said, what I'm gonna do on this video, I'm gonna let it go on to 2 hours and 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna end this video, which is part 1. Then I'm gonna start part 2. And when I start part 2, I'm gonna do my Instagram video. Then after I do my Instagram video, I'm gonna do my Periscope video. So like I said, that's the history of Chicago. It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things people may not approve of what they're hearing, but I mean, that's the history of Chicago. That's the history of Chicago. When you hear about all the white men and women in the greasy gang and the bullying and the segregation, I mean, that's the history of America. That's the history of America and the history of Chicago. When you hear about African Americans, blacks living in the South, leaving the South, the segregated South, coming up north. That's the history of America, and that's the history of Chicago. And like I said, that information came from the website ChicagoGangHistory.com. Now let me say this: when you be watching YouTube, you can still learn about the history of Chicago. Chi-Town Gang TV thing. Let me go over here to YouTube. That's what it is. Now, when you go to a YouTube channel, you can go to, because I mean, you know, it might not be long, but you can go to Chi-Town Gangster TV, and it's a YouTube channel that you can go to, and you can still find out about all these different gangs. White gangs, black gangs, Hispanic, Latino gangs. So like I say, you can go to so but like I say that you can go to Chi-Town gang. Chi-Town Gangster TV YouTube channel, and you can still learn about the history of Chicago. And all that stuff, talking about some devil worship and talking about the occult. See, you don't put them words together in the first place. You don't put devil and worship together. Now we're gonna go to the Bible, but what I'm gonna do, because I'm trying to say, we're gonna after I do my Instagram, I'm gonna do my my Periscope. We're gonna go to the Bible, and we're gonna pick back up when we left off on we had went to the Holy Bible. Mainly we went to the Old Testament and these ancient people that are mentioned in the Old Testament. And we're gonna continue to look into these devil worship and the occult, the cults, things of nature. Cause you be lying. See, all that horse fan you be doing. See, there's no such thing from the Old Testament to the New Testament. God telling you, oh no, there's no such thing as what you see in devil and worship or Satanism. That's something you made up. That's some made up junk. You be lying. And like I said earlier, they're gonna get you killed. That devil worship, that occult stuff, gonna get you killed. I'm not saying that, just being honest. gonna get you killed. There's no such thing worse than the devil. No such thing as Satanism. There's no such thing as living on the East Coast and leaving the East Coast and talking about you gonna worship the devil and all that occult stuff. There's no such thing. The big line gonna get you killed. Because what you be doing, you be disrespecting other people. There's no such thing as worse than the devil. It never has been. It never has been. You been lying. You be lying. Now it's almost time me to get ready to end this video. It's gonna be dated December the 15th, 2019. It's gonna be part one. So like I said, just give me a brief moment for the end, part one. We're gonna start part two. Like I say, this video gonna be dated December the 15th, 2019, part one.